Well, we tried to do this video out on the porch, and it was just so hot out there, you couldn't hardly do it. In fact, the matter is, you barely can do it. And here it's pretty hot, and I've got the AC running. So if you hear AC going in the background, and sorry guys, I just got to have it. And again, it's still hot. Anyway, we wanted to do an inspirational video today, and the subject is going to be when you've just gone as far as you can go, what next? Now, I convey messages by stories. That's just the way I do. And so I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to start out first. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of set the stage here. About somewhere around 40 years ago, Wanda and I were raising kids, had 3 kids. We were building a house. We were building a business. And we worked in the religious community. Some people call it ministry. If that's what you want to call it, that's fine. But we just work to help people. So that's what we did. Anyway, that's a pretty big load for a young couple. And we were still young back then. So anyway, we had been working as hard as we could, trying to do all those things, juggle life, raising the kids, building business, building a house, and working in our community as well. And so after actually a few years of that, we were feeling the pressure mentally and physically, but now we were feeling it financially. And the reason for that was not bad decisions, but our economy went on a downturn about that time. Economy wasn't any good much anyway, but a small downturn, and it got worse really fast. But after a long period of time of going through that, we were just at our wits' end. We were just frazzled. And we had committed to going to this particular event and helping there. And so we went, and we couldn't afford to. We just couldn't afford to. Couldn't afford the gas. Couldn't afford the food, but we did it anyway. So it just added to an already hard situation. And we were just so far down mentally and physically. I'll tell you honestly, and I speak for me now, I just felt like I was smothering all the time. I felt like there was a truck sitting on my chest. And we were facing some things that were going to come up in a few days that we just did not have the means to deal with. And after months of the anxiety of this, man, we were just wasted. I mean, we were in tough shape. But we went and we did our obligations. We did what we were supposed to do. Well, that Sunday morning, there was a fella going to preach. I guess you'd call it preaching. I think it was more in line of teaching. But anyway, he had a message. Now, this fellow, I'm not going to mention his name, though I'd almost like to, but out of respect for him, and his privacy, I'm not going to mention his name right now. Maybe one of these days we'll get to. But he was probably one of the most talented speakers that I'd ever heard. And he had a lot of other talents I'm not going to go into because a lot of people will figure out who I'm talking about. But just one of the most talented men you'd ever meet in your life, and a nice guy, really nice guy. But his message is the story that I'm going to tell you today, and I'm going to tell it to you the best I can. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. I never did ask anybody, but it had a really good message in it, and it had a good message in it for my wife and I. Anyway, they were going to build a bridge, and I believe they said it was over in Africa, and the chasm was so wide and so deep, this bridge project just looked pretty near impossible. So that company went and found an engineer that would tackle that. And they told him, said, man, if you can pull this off, you will be world renowned. You will never have to want for a job or money anymore. You will be the man. And so this guy accepts that job, and he says to him, the only way we can build this thing, he said, you can't build it from one side to the other. He said, you got to build from both sides. He said, because you try to span it from one side to the other, it's going to fall off before you get to the other side. So they said, okay. So they started building that thing on one side, started building it on the other side. with the intentions of it meeting in the middle. Now, here was the catch to the whole thing. If this bridge was even an inch off on that last span, this was a total disaster. And if it was on, it was going to be one of the greatest engineering successes in the world. Okay? So this guy had worried about this for months and months and months, not knowing whether his calculations would get him there or not. And this was a long bridge. So the night before they laid the last span, they were going to lay it the next day, and it was going to be either a huge celebration or a terrible defeat. But he walked out on that bridge in the wee hours of the morning, and he looked across there at that, and he knew that if this thing didn't fit that last span, he was run. And out of desperation and anxiety, he jumped off that bridge and landed in that ravine. Now, it was so deep, they said you couldn't even see his body down there from the bridge. Anyway, he commits suicide. Well, the next day, they get ready to lay the last span, and they're looking for him, trying to find him. I mean, you know, everybody's there. This is going to be a celebration if it works. Well, he didn't show up, so they said, we got to go ahead and lay this thing. So they laid that last span, and it just clicked into place just perfectly. Done exactly what it was supposed to. A few hours before his greatest success in his life, this man took his own life. Now, the message in this story is things get hard, and they get terribly hard sometimes. And you'll always be tempted to quit. You'll always be tempted to end it. Don't do it. Now, I heard this story with what we were going through as a family. I did something that I rarely ever do. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I ever did it before in my life, but I did today. This man gave that message, and he said, now, if you're one of these people that are thinking you're at the end of your rope and there's nothing else you can do, he said, I want you to raise your hand. Well, I raised my hand. Very odd for me, but I raised my hand that morning. And he sent several men back there to pray for my wife and I. Now, I don't know exactly what happened, but something in my heart came alive that day. Hope came back. I didn't know how we were going to make it, but I felt a change. When I felt that change, I just somehow knew we were going to make it. Anyway, we went back home. We went to work the next day, and within a few weeks, we'd worked our way out of that. Now, my wife and I could have walked off from each other, and we weren't talking about that, but we could have. And a lot of times, this is what happened. We could have quit the business. We could have just said, forget it. We're going to do something easier. But we didn't. I've been married to Wanda for 53 years. We've seen up and down times the whole 53 years. But I got to tell you something. I would not pick anybody in this world to live my life with outside of my wife, Wanda. I'm the happiest man probably on the face of the planet, at least as far as I'm concerned right now. 53 years with my wife, and I've got the best life I've ever had. It's good, guys. I don't have a lot of money. That ain't what makes life good. What makes life good is loving life. If you're one of those people that you're facing things like that in your life and you don't know how you're going to make it, I'm going to pray for you when this video is over. I'm not going to do it on the video, but I'm going to do it when this video is over. And if you're one of those and you feel like it, only if you feel like it, if you just want to put prayer in the comments and send it to me, I'll keep you on my prayer list for a while, okay? Now, if you don't, I'm going to pray for you anyway. God knows who you are. We here at the Porch love you. We want the best for you. And we hope and pray that whatever you're going through, that you get God involved and you pray. We'll be praying with you. And he gets you past that, whatever it is. May God bless and have a good day.